Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Tonight, we have a Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture community conversation coming your way on the topic of youth biosecurity education. Today's session features the online modules about biosecurity developed as part of the Animal Disease Biosecurity Coordinated Agricultural Project that was part of a larger project funded by USDA NIFA. While we're introducing ourselves, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Julie Smith, and I serve as the project director of the Animal Disease Biosecurity Coordinated Agricultural Project, which, among other things, created the new Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture website, the learning modules we will be discussing in this session, and a set of hands-on activities that we will be discussing in the fourth session of this series. The central theme of all of the project activities was exploring and influencing the human side of biosecurity. How do you convince people it is important? How do you explain what needs done? And how do you get it done consistently? If you want to know more about the project's activities, visit agbiosecurityproject.org. So whether you are a volunteer 4-H leader or part of Extension, or you work in FFA with an FFA group as an ag instructor or teacher, or you're a consultant, we want you to know all about the resources that the Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture website has to offer, including the new online learning modules and the hands-on kits. The goal of today's session is to introduce you to the online learning modules, help you understand how you might implement these in whatever context you interact with youth about biosecurity, and explain how you can connect with ongoing support during the process. To that end, we want to create a learning community, a group of us who are engaged in this together, who can learn from each other and benefit by participating. So we'll introduce you to the site where the Youth Biosecurity Education Discussion Forum resides before we close out this session, and show you how that works. So we're going to start with a quick tour of the Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture website and show you where you can find the learning modules. And after that, we'll give you a better idea of what is in the learning modules, and we'll be talking with our featured speaker, Susan Kerr, and we'll talk about ways you can implement the modules in your own situation. So Joanna Cummings is leading the tour of the website. Joanna is a communications professional based at the University of Vermont who works for the project. She has done a fantastic job of revamping the Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture website and adding new features and functionality. Joanna, I'm going to turn things over to you to show us around.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining, and we're at the home page of the Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture website. And I did put the link in the chat. It's healthyagriculture.org. Right from the home page, you can find the information that we're going to be talking about today, but quickly I just wanted to share the goal and the structure of the website is around the 3 terms we're calling prevent, detect, and respond. And we're focused right now on livestock, farm animal biosecurity. Hopefully in the future we will be adding crops, but for right now we're looking at livestock. And just quickly, I'm hovering over the navigation menu where you can see the different types of livestock we're covering on the website. And we also have information about wildlife and feral animals. So on the home page, it's really easy to get to either through our navigation, where you click on Youth 4-H and FFA, or just scroll down. We're highlighting the learning modules this month and click on the link, and it will take you to our training page. And so I'm going to slowly scroll down so you can get a look at what we have for offerings currently on the training page, the biosecurity modules. We also have scrub kits, and these will be talked about in a later webinar that we hope you can join that complement the learning modules. We also have a tabletop exercise called Grime Scene, and at the bottom of the page we have some videos that are really clever, directed towards students. So click on the Get Started Here, and it takes you right over to the home page for the learning modules. And on this page, we're going to slow down scrolly. We get to a section where it can fork in two different places. The modules are set up for instructors, leaders to be able to use in all kinds of agricultural education settings, but students can also use these modules on your own. We have an option for them to be able to visit the Wisconsin Technical College's WISC online course system and take the modules. There are 6 of them, but they can take the modules in 2 courses and get a certificate of completion. It's not credited, but they can get a certificate. The first 4 modules are in the biosecurity for youth caring for livestock, and these last 2 are in the public speaking course setting. And over on the right side, a little bit of instruction for leaders. I'm going to quickly go through what the setup is, the information that's available on the web, but everything that you're going to see except for a set of extensive set of links are contained in a printable teaching guide, and I'll show you where that's at. So on the homepage for the biosecurity modules is where general information for leaders in a tabbed setup is at. And I'm going to click on the second tab, which is general activities. Not only do the modules offer a great assortment of activities for students in the discovery learning way that they were developed, but there's also ideas for a lot of other activities that could be incorporated in all of the modules. And I'm just going to go over quickly what these symbols are. We have 3 columns here. What is appropriate activity for a beginner, intermediate, advanced? And then each one of these symbols represents an explore activity, an application activity, a play activity, a share activity. And there's quite a few general activities. There's a lot of really great stuff being offered here. What I'm going to quickly highlight as well is the FFA standards that have been developed that the learning modules conform to, and you might want to take a look at that. There's quite a bit here in terms of all of the areas that the learning modules cover for the FFA standards.
Joanna, I just want to point out for the FFA instructors that when they're looking for how these align with their content standards, that they'll find a number of ways that these align with the animal health care, economic impacts of decisions, creativity and innovation, and communication standards.
The next tab I'm going to show you is on this page. It's where you can download the PDF, the printable module guide, which has all of this information in it. And also we offer a set of screenshots because the modules are set up so that a student needs to complete an activity before they can advance. And if an instructor wants to just look at what's in there, they probably don't want to have to do all the activities. So we offer 2 versions of the screenshots. One has a picture of every single screen in each one of these modules, and then another series, a set, has an overview of the screens. And one last tab are links. There's an extensive set of links here for even more resources on biosecurity. I'm going to scroll down below these tabs. You see all the links there. And I'm just going to click on one of the modules. So the set of modules is on the bottom of each one of the module pages. So here we are at Learning Module 2. Now this is specific to this module. And there's also activities, same kind of symbols and the beginner, intermediate, advanced column over here that can help guide you with extra activities that would go along with the modules. And then, of course, the teaching modules, the guide here, it's the complete guide. Each one of these modules has a link to the complete guide, and each module has a link to its own screenshots. So here is the actual module. And you advance with the back and next button. And then at the bottom of the page are all of the modules. Okay, so that's a very brief overview of the modules. And again, healthyagriculture.org is where you can find them.
We have with us today Dr. Susan Kerr. Susan has a veterinary degree and a doctoral degree in education, and although now retired from Washington State University Extension, has been and remains dedicated to educating youth about biosecurity and herd health. She and Dr. Jeannie Rankin were the lead content developers of the learning modules. Jeannie is a veterinarian and foreign animal disease diagnostician in the state of Montana, where she manages a pedigreed cow-calf beef herd and engages with producers on foreign animal disease and other emergency preparedness and herd health topics. She joined the team with support of Tommy Bass, who is an extension specialist in animal and range sciences with Montana State University, leading the educational design of the learning modules with the team of subject matter experts. So that was Susan, Jeannie, and sometimes myself, has been the role of Dr. Jeanette McDonald. Jeanette is another member of the team with degrees in both veterinary medicine and education. Jeanette interfaced also with the technical design team at Fox Valley Technical College, which is in the Wisconsin Technical College system. The Fox Valley team converted their cool ideas for the interactions into reality for 5 out of 6 of the modules. Module 1 actually had already been programmed in HTML, so that one looks a little different than the others. Other team members joining today are Dr. Betsy Green and Dr. Chris Heine, who are both equine extension specialists, Betsy with the University of Arizona and Chris with Oklahoma State University. They led the development of the hands-on learning activities for the project, and you will hear from them in upcoming sessions of this series of conversations on youth biosecurity education. I also want to recognize and thank Ashley Wright with the University of Arizona. Thank you, Ashley, for your assistance setting up the Zoom webinars and helping them run smoothly. So, Susan, we're going to have a little conversation here. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the contents of the modules, it might be helpful to start with why these were developed in the first place. Why is this type of biosecurity education needed?
Why should we care about biosecurity is an excellent question. There's so many things we can learn about, but why spend time on biosecurity? Our very first module focuses on this. It's defining what it is for students and also saying, why should we care? And in the actual module, they can click on each one of these things and hear someone talking about the different perspectives of why they care about biosecurity. And the really popular one, of course, is it really is animal welfare. And the best way to address that is to prevent suffering in the first place. So security helps do that. We also want to prevent zoonotic disease, keep good public opinion of agriculture production, keep our international trade open, prevent economic loss, not only in farms, but not in communities that are affected by agriculture, and also keep food prices low for consumers. So these are all reasons we should care about biosecurity.
Great. So I'd also like you to share a bit about the teaching philosophy that guided their development. What were the guiding principles you had in mind?
Dr. Jeanette McDonald and I both have PhDs in education, and hers was in distance technology. And we both really believe in discovery learning, similar to experiential learning, which is emphasized in 4-H. It was very important to us that youth realize they don't have to know everything. We're not trying to make veterinarians out of them through these modules. They don't have to understand every word or have a lot of knowledge coming into them. We help them discover information. They recommend they keep a notebook of things to look up, words they need to look up, or concepts, or if they want to learn more about a specific disease or species or anything. But they don't have to become an expert to be successful in the modules. They're going to uncover things along the way. And also we address various types of learning through both auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, because there's a lot of interaction and interacting with the material that the youth need to do. We're also big on the concept of trickle-up education, or the trickle up theory where we're educating the youth, and we really expect them to share that education sideways with their peers and upwards with their leaders and their parents to change the behavior and get the outcomes we want to see. And we've seen that before, like with recycling or wearing bike helmets or seat belts or nutrition education. Youth are very good at nagging their parents to do things the right way. We hope that becomes a norm after this biosecurity training as well.
So we mentioned earlier there are 6 modules, and I'd love for you to walk through what they're about and just explain briefly what the learning objectives are for each one.
We'll do this quickly. And as you mentioned, this learning module 1 is visually different than the others. It was done with HTML, so it looks a little different. But its title is What is Biosecurity and Why Should We Care? And as I mentioned, we can go into that. And so the youth can understand all the different perspectives that are affected by biosecurity. And can you advance, Joanna? The objectives are, we're gonna, as I said, help youth understand what it means and identify the diseases where we want to prevent. And then they're gonna try to understand how disease agents and hosts and environment come together and cause diseases. Next one, please. Module 2, we talk about routes of infection and means of transmission and advance. And these objectives want the youth to learn about the 5 routes of infection and understand how diseases are transmitted. Okay, then module 3, please. Now in this activity, we go into more depth and ask students to do a virtual farm tour and have them find sources of disease transmission risks. And the objectives there, they're going to find categories of risks and discover a condition when transmission is likely, and then the means of disease transmission in given situations that we give them. Okay, module 4, please. Modules 3 and 4 are quite closely connected. And this one, we talked about finding risks. This one, biosecurity strategies to address those risks. Okay, advance, please. And the objectives are, what actions can we take that can reduce those risks? We're going to have them develop a biosecurity action plan for this virtual farm that they've toured, and then select the most cost-effective strategies to reduce risks. And then our last 2 modules, we have 5 and 6. 5 is public speaking for biosecurity advocates. They're going to create persuasive presentation, and this can be for focusing on biosecurity or actually any other public speaking topic. They're going to learn how to identify and evaluate information and then create a presentation. And 6, our final module. Now this is actually communicating that presentation that they've created. They're going to learn how to be a good presenter, and the objectives are, the next slide, deliver the presentation well and use eye contact and body movements to engage and persuade their audience.
Susan, that
Those
sounds
are the
like having a
modules.
public presentation.
Yes. And what happens with number 5 is that as they go through module 5, they will actually create a presentation. And then in 6, they will learn how to deliver it well.
Nice. Well, that was a great overview. Susan, some people might notice that your voice is a little shaky, and I just want folks to know that's because she has a little shaky internet connection, but I believe she's coming through well enough for us to continue. So we're just going to work with the audio the way that we're getting it.
I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry.
That's all right. Sometimes you come through loud and clear. So we have a question for you that we'll take now. So what age of youth are targeted with these learning modules, Susan?
They're focused on youth in grades 6 through 12. We feel they can be used with younger children, but probably with more direct leadership and support. excuse me. They also, though, we've had them used in college classes and had some interest in getting them adapted to veterinary classes as well. So it's not just K through 12 students, it's older and adults as well, leaders, volunteers, maybe even producers.
Hey, we have another question about hard copy curriculum that goes along with the modules, and is there one?
They could print this off online if they would like to, but then they're the interactivity of it.
Susan, I just wanted to interject, whoever came on that wasn't present when I was showing the modules on the website, there is a downloadable, printable PDF teaching guide that includes the curriculum for the modules and also extra activities. So, and you can find that on the home page of the biosecurity modules or on each page of the each module under the teaching resources tab.
Yeah, and also for those, obviously it was built for online as well, but we in Arizona have a lot of places that we don't actually have great online. So both options is wonderful. We also had one other question. Would you recommend teaching more than one module at a time?
That's a good question. It's probably a matter of the audience and how much time you've got. Right now, students might love to do more than one module at a time. I think probably in a traditional club setting, I would say one at a time, but you really could do them all in one day and have a really focused day on biosecurity and a real in-depth discussion. I think it's really just a matter of how much time do you have and how are both the adult and youth attention spans that day.
Susan, these modules were peer-reviewed and pilot tested, right? Can you tell us a bit about that process?
Yes, we had a national peer review process, and some of the people on this call might have been a peer reviewer, we don't know. And then after peer review, we made the changes recommended, and then we pilot tested also around the country and even some in Canada, and used that feedback to change things. Most things were questions of the interactivity of the pilots and some glitches and technological issues. We implemented all of that feedback, and hopefully we have a product now that works well. They were designed for use on desktops, laptops, and tablets, not for phones or Blackberries.
That's a good point. Susan, earlier you mentioned discovery learning, and some folks might be wondering how you achieve that in an online environment. How about showing us some of the interactive features? Okay,
we can zip through some of those. And it's actually doing a disservice to show them here in in a screenshot, but we'll try. This is a summary kind of the info in modules 1 and 2, and this is the introduction, I think, to number 3. But it briefly reviews some of the major concepts, and when you click on these, things happen. So it's not static like this, but it's showing again how the disease agent, host, and environment have to come together to create disease. We talk about what is direct contact versus indirect, and what are those routes of infection, what kind of diseases can you contract those different ways. Okay, the next one. Next slide. Here in module 3, which is we're investigating the risks. This is our virtual barn, and this is one shot, one area of the area of the farm. You click on the magnifying glasses, and there's information that goes into more depth about the risks in those areas. And then you click on that man, and I think he's talking about bringing in a bull for breeding and so on. So that's an interactive activity. Next. Oh, and this is on module 3. This is probably our most favorite and most hated activity. Caused a lot of joy and a lot of pain to people. It's very engaging, but it's called the $1 Million Quiz, and we have a little video on that. Can we get that going? Joanna, thanks. And I've worked through this and taped my progress through the activity. Really, you are not going to have time to read things. We're just showing you visually how one of the activities works. And it's going to be a little, like a game show here. We've got a question, and they can, the more questions they get right, like the game show, the more money they make virtually, and they can do a 50-50 option or ask a farmer. So we've guessed there and submitted. Whoops, we didn't get it right, but that's okay. That's kind of the discovery learning, because the correct information was in that little box that popped up. This time we're using 50-50. And oh yay, we got it right. And then more details in case they just guessed, they can learn more facts about it. What do we do to prevent sick animals? And we asked a farmer there. So Sharon has come up and given us more information to help us get the right answer. Thank you, Sharon. And then we're going to make our answer, give our answer. Yay, we got it right. Again, more detail so we can learn, keep learning. And sometimes I did them wrong just for fun. Kids really engage with this and like it. Most of them are familiar with the $1 Million program, the quiz. And we're almost done. We have 7 questions. We're on 6. Youth could do this as a group or individually, however they want to do it. It's fine. And I really, when piloting this, I really enjoyed seeing groups discuss the answers together and kind of argue, kind of defend their answers and come together on an answer as a group. And that's how much they won virtually. And that video is done now.
So
That was one. Go ahead.
So Susan, you answered one question. You also had a question about, do these activities require supplies that families will need to participate?
These online activities do not. They need nothing except internet connection and some type of tablet or desktop or something, but no other supplies. The supplemental activities in the teacher's guide, some of them do need supplemental activity materials. What happens when we're going through the activity? We're generating a risk report. And here's another activity where it's a sticky pad. You have on the left, you have a task and you have to put it on the right bulletin board. And if it's in the right spot, it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, the consequence of getting something wrong is learning. My internet connection is unstable once again. I hope you're hearing me. Okay, advance, please. Those were strategies to reduce risk. Here we're back to the barnyard, and I just want to show you something that happens when you click on the old barn. Okay, advance. If you click on the old barn, this is what you see. Here's the old barn, and the strategies are used to reduce the risks that are in that barnyard, like the disease risks that are inherent on dirt and wood floors, and using a skid steer for both feed and manure, and overcrowding or things like that. Okay, next. And this one, it's a sorting activity. They have put things in the order when it comes to cleaning and disinfecting. So many kids and people, adults too, think that you just tromp through a foot bath and you're good to go. And there's so much more to cleaning and disinfection than that. If there's anything we teach kids through this, I hope it's cleaning things effectively. Next. And in this one, this is kind of one of the kinesthetic things too. They're going to type in a strategy to reduce risk in these different areas, and then they hit compare, and feedback will pop up with the factual information. Okay, next. This activity is already done, so you don't get the joy of seeing it in the making, but the point of it is there are costs to preventing disease and there are costs of disease. And we've done some different scenarios with high disease prevalence, low disease prevalence, and what are the effects of vaccinating. We hope that message gets across that vaccinating, although it costs money, it's preventing costly disease. Okay, next. This is a fun one. This is a two-part slide here. We call this one Bang for the Buck. We have strategies to reduce risk. We've done a relative ranking their costs and of their effectiveness. And okay, advancing that information, advance the slide. We're going to use those strategies to reduce biosecurity risk before we run out of money. And this is the activity that drives everybody nuts because, well, I don't want to give you the answer. It's a fun activity to do, and you'll see what happens. But it's this balance between how much money you've got and how effective things are to reduce risk. Okay, next. And then for our public speaking modules, we had a lovely volunteer donate her time to record many different types of presentations. She did them well, she did them poorly, she did them with a lot of annoying distractions. Anything we asked her to do, she did them so that youth can go through them and see eye contact, see distracting movement of hair and use of ums and ohs and other things. And they can learn how to both create that presentation and deliver it well. And then our next slide is our last slide. It's very important for us to cover and teach how to encourage youth how to judge the credibility of information, because that is a huge challenge for them, as you know. And there's something called the CRAP test that they can apply to information. They assess how current, relevant, authoritative, accurate, and its purpose before they just assume something is useful information. That was a quick overview of just some of the interactive activities.
And Susan, there was a question, since we're in the time of COVID and forced to work virtually, could this be on screen very much like we are doing now? Absolutely. The cool part about this, the tools are here and you can use them how they best fit your opportunity. So that is certainly an option.
Yeah, you could have a virtual club meeting and everybody watches this and you go through it that way. Sure.
Susan, what are some of the other ways that learners can engage with the modules? Why don't you just go through the different options that are out there?
Sure. You can certainly engage with them individually at home or in a group. So working side by side in a group or as a family. And you can be part of a team or a small group. Sometimes leaders might think about it as an assignment for background before they have some of their activity, like a club meeting or a field trip, as I mentioned, even in college classes. And you can just use one or all the modules in a classroom setting or club meetings at home, at grandma's, wherever. They're very flexible and portable.
I talked with Wendy Sorrell, who I know is on this meeting, and we talked through some of the ways that these modules could be used with 4-H groups. And Wendy, if we didn't touch on all of those ideas, go ahead and add them in the chat, because that was a great brainstorm that we did and thought about how we could even use these with younger youth as long as the leader was facilitating going through the modules. So there are certainly a lot of different ways they can be used. And as we mentioned earlier, you can either have youth access the modules one by one through our website, or you can send them to the WISC online site if you'd like them to take them as a set and get a certificate that says they completed the course before you go on and do whatever activity you want to do with the group.
I just want to mention that for people interested in using these, I really would recommend teachers go through the units themselves ahead of time so they're familiar with the technologies and what has to be done to advance the slides. The navigation can be frustrating at first sometimes if children don't understand that. And I really encourage leaders to embrace discovery learning. Don't just wander around the room answering the kids' questions. That's not what this is. I mean, you're going to know the answers to a lot of the questions that are being asked. We want them to discover it, or even leave the room, go home and look it up later. But please don't just give them answers, because that you're giving them information. We'd like them to earn it so it's memorable.
And Wendy Sorrell put in a great point, going through with the younger youth as a meeting, but then also having them go back in and on their own to get a certificate. So
Great. So obviously there's lots of options for how teachers, leaders, parents, youth can interact with these, engage with these in whatever way you're connecting with youth in the classroom and clubs in your home. One more thing I want to mention, because we do have these out there, and we're interested in hearing from folks how they're working. So if you are leaders, we want to be hearing from you, and we'll share some ways you can be in touch and share how things are going. But we also want to hear from the youth, and we're developing a survey tool. And once that's available, that will be, the link will be available on our website, but it's something that leaders can direct youth to after completing one of the modules or a set of modules, and provide feedback on those through that survey tool. And we'd really appreciate that.
And then the feedback we'd really like is, it's optional, but if you connect with us, we'd like to connect with you in 6 months and see how behaviors have changed. The real point of our whole grant was, how can we change behavior? They'll gain information through these modules, but how have they changed behaviors? And at 6 months, what are they doing now that they didn't do before? And is it a habit? And we want those things to happen, because that is the real goal of our whole project, is behavior change.
the question came up, are the Zoom meetings over the same information? No, each and every Zoom meeting on these next upcoming Thursdays are all different. Different speakers, different parts, different information. So please join all of them.
That's correct. So thanks so much, Susan, for that introduction and overview to the learning modules and the interactives that are part of them. So we're talking about a discussion forum. I don't know how many of you have participated in a discussion forum before. The reason I like them is that they keep the conversation in one place. So you can have a perpetual conversation, actually several conversations going on that are organized by topic, and you can come back and find tips and information there that if it was coming through your email or listserv might have gotten lost or buried in that folder that you tucked it away to, thinking that, oh, you'll be able to find it later. So we are fortunate that through the E-Extension Foundation, they have an area called Connect Extension, which does a number of things, including hosting forums.
Julie, before you get too involved, I just want to remind folks that what you're seeing now is me as an administrator logged in. So to be able to join and see the subgroup, you have to become a member. But there are some tools in the navigation that I may be there because I'm the administrator for the group that you may not see as a member. So just keep that in mind.
Good point. And all you have to do to be able to see the forum is join Connect Extension. I don't know how many of you are already members of Connect Extension. It's really easy to join. You just have to navigate to the Connect Extension site, fill out a registration, and you'll be admitted. And then you need to navigate and indicate that you want to join the Healthy Farms Biosecurity Community, and you'll be admitted to that. As long as you're a member of Connect Extension, you can join this group automatically. So we hope that you will do that, and we're gonna show you where we have a forum set up about youth biosecurity education. We have a few forums in this group, but the one that we're talking about tonight is the youth biosecurity education one. And I wanna make it clear that this forum belongs to everyone who's a member of the group. So you can help direct where it goes in terms of what topics we add and so on. If you click into the youth biosecurity one, you can see that we have set up a couple questions, and those questions are headers for a topic area where you can respond to that question. You can share what is going well, what's not going well. You can share tips when in terms of the question about how are you using the modules. That's where you can talk about what you tried and share how well it went. Do you like how it went? Would you change what you did? What are things that you might suggest to someone else who's thinking about doing things that way? And maybe you have a question because you haven't used one yet and you want to find out if anyone else has done whatever idea you've come up with and get some feedback on whether they think that might work. So like I said, it's easy to get into this forum. You just join Connect Extension and join this subgroup. I do want to mention that when you join, you're creating a profile in Connect Extension, and that comes with a lot of controls in terms of notifications, and you'll want to adjust those because if you leave it open, or if you happen to select, well, you can try different settings. If you happen to select, tell me about everything, you will get a lot of messages. So you'll probably want to adjust them so that you're just getting a feed that's related to the groups that you're most interested in, or from their weekly wrap up. So there's a summary message that comes out that can make your inbox a lot easier to deal with.
Hey, Julie, I just wanted to share that there was a question about the links, how to join on these webinars, and that question has been asked and answered or will be shortly in the chat so that anyone that has questions on that. Travis asked a great question. We're sharing it in chat. And also Joanna, maybe you can share the Connect Extension link in the chat as well. There was a question on that.
Yeah, and make sure our healthyagriculture.org link is in there too. That's an important link to get back to our website. So just to go over, you might be wondering, okay, so you've shown us a forum. Why would I want to participate in one? Well, it just goes back to the fact that we're learning how to use these modules together, and we can benefit from each other's experience. By being part of this group that's participating in the forum, we can share and learn from each other's experience. So maybe someone else, if you're running into a problem, maybe someone else has already dealt with that and come up with a solution that you can try. Or maybe someone else's experience can help you head off from having a problem. Or maybe you can share your experience that helps someone else in being successful in implementing these learning modules.
And
So
the question came up, will the recording be shared? Yes, it will be uploaded to the YouTube channel on the Healthy Farms, Healthy Ag, correct, Joanna?
that is right.
Sorry, I was muted. I just shared. I thought I put the YouTube. Let me really quickly. I had copied the YouTube link.
So Joanna will put that link in the.
There it is.
Yep, Joanna will put that link in the chat for us, and we're almost at the end of our time. So I just want to wrap up and remind folks that we'd appreciate your feedback on today's session. We have a link to the survey on Qualtrics that's in the chat, and you will see that link again when you log out, and you will see that link again when you get a follow-up message after being part of this session. So we hope that you will respond to that. It's really short. And I want to give you a heads up about the next conversation in this series. In the next session, Chris Heine will be talking with Roy Lee Lindsay of the Oklahoma Pork Council and Dr. Lisa Becton, who's with the National Pork Board. And so please join into that session to hear about their experiences with youth biosecurity education. This concludes the first of 4 sessions in this series on youth biosecurity education. You can revisit your registration anytime through the original registration link to register for additional sessions so that you get reminders for them. And thank you again for joining us here for a Healthy Farms, Healthy Agriculture community conversation. While the focus of this project is agricultural biosecurity, many of the concepts are relevant for public health today. I encourage you to keep doing all you can to keep COVID-19 at bay. Until next time, live well and biosecurely.